Advanced Marine Surveyor Training. Lecture 2. Chapter 2. Class and Statutory Survey. Chapter 2.1. Mandatory Shipboard Documentation. Subchapter 2.1.1. Certificates. Latest full list of mandatory certificates and other documents, Appendix 1. All vessels are required to carry on board at all times the originals of registration certificates and applicable statutory certificates. The following documentation is recommended to be placed on board and maintained and updated by the owner for the life of the ship in order to be readily available for the survey party during safety construction surveys. Survey report file containing reports of surveys and thickness measurement reports. It is recommended that the following additional documentation be placed on board, including any other information that will assist the inspection. A. Main structural plans of cargo holds and ballast tanks. B. Previous repair history. C. Cargo and ballast history. D. Inspection and action taken by ship's personnel with reference to structural deterioration in general, leakages and bulkheads and piping, condition of coating or corrosion protection, if any. Prior to inspection, it is recommended that the documents on board the vessel be reviewed as a basis for the current survey. Subchapter 2.1.2. Other mandatory documents. The following nautical publications satisfy the requirements of SOLAS Regulation 19 and should be carried by the vessels. International Code of Signals. The Mariner's Handbook. Merchant Shipping Notices, Marine Guidance Notes and Marine Information Notes. Notices to Mariners. Notices to Mariners Annual Summary. Lists of radio signals. Lists of lights. Sailing directions. Nautical almanac. Navigational tables. Tide tables. Tidal stream atlases. Operating and maintenance instructions for navigational aids carried by the ship. IAMSA version 3. Table of life-saving signals. Safety Management System, SMS, Manual. Deck Logbook. Oil Record Book. Ozone-depleting substances Record Book. Ballast Water Record Book. Recommended publications. SOLAS Latest Edition. MARPOL Latest Edition. Coal Reg. Bridge Procedures Guide. Bridge Team Management Guide. STCW 95. ISM Code. ISPS Code. International Life-Saving Appliance Code, LSA Code. International Code for Fire Safety Systems, FSS Code. GMDSS Handbook. Dangerous Goods Code, IMDC. Safety Data Sheets for Dangerous Goods. Master List. Code of Safe Working Practice for Merchant Seamen. Chapter 2.2. Class and Statutory Certification. Class Rules. Subchapter 2.2.1. Class Rules and Class Certification. Scope of classification. Implementation of the published Class Society Rules. Classification process consists of, was already covered in Chapter 1. A technical review of the design plans and related documents for a new vessel to verify compliance with the applicable rules. Attendance at the construction of the vessel in the shipyard by a classification society surveyor, to verify that the vessel is constructed in accordance with the approved design plans and classification rules. Attendance by a classification society surveyor, at the relevant production facilities that provide key components such as the steel, engines, generators and castings to verify that the component conforms to the applicable rule requirements. Attendance by a classification society surveyor, at the sea trials and other trials relating to the vessel and its equipment prior to delivery to verify conformance with the applicable rule requirements. Upon satisfactory completion of the above, the builder's/ship owner's request for the issuance of a class certificate will be considered by the relevant classification society and, if deemed satisfactory, the assignment of class may be approved and a certificate of classification issued. Once in service, the owner must submit the vessel to a clearly specified program of periodical class surveys carried out on board the vessel, to verify that the ship continues to meet the relevant rule requirements for continuation of class. Class rules do not cover every piece of structure or item of equipment on board a vessel, nor do they cover operational elements. Activities which generally fall outside the scope of classification include such items as design and manufacturing processes, choice of type and power of machinery and certain equipment, for example winches, number and qualification of crew or operating personnel, form and cargo carrying capacity of the ship and maneuvering performance, hull vibrations, spare parts, life-saving appliances and maintenance equipment. These matters may however be given consideration for classification according to the type of ship or class notation, S, assigned. It should be emphasized that it is the ship owner who has the overall responsibility for the safety and integrity of the vessel, including the manner in which it is operated and maintained. The effectiveness of classification depends upon the shipbuilder, during construction, and the ship owner, once the vessel enters service, cooperating with the class society in an open and transparent manner on all issues which may affect its class status. For the ship owner, this particularly requires acting in good faith by disclosing to the class society any damage or deterioration that may affect the vessel's classification status. If there is the least question, the owner should notify class and schedule a survey to determine if the vessel is in compliance with the relevant class standard. It is the duty of the owner, or its representative, to inform the society of any events or circumstances that may affect the continued conformance of the ship with the society's rules. A class surveyor may only go on board a vessel once in a 12-month period. At that time it is neither possible nor expected that the surveyor scrutinize the entire structure of the vessel or its machinery. The survey involves a sampling, for which guidelines exist based upon empirical experience and the age of the vessel, which may indicate those parts of the vessel or its machinery that may be subject to corrosion, or are exposed to the highest incidence of stress, or may be likely to exhibit signs of fatigue or damage. It is the owner's responsibility to properly maintain the ship in the period between surveys. Classification surveys. A classification survey is a visual examination that normally consists of an overall examination of the items identified in the rules for survey, detailed checks of selected parts on a sampling basis, witnessing tests, measurements and trials where applicable. When a surveyor identifies corrosion, structural defects or damage to hull, machinery and/or piece of equipment which, based on the society's rules and in the opinion of the surveyor, affects the ship's class, remedial measures and/or appropriate recommendations/conditions of class are specified in order to retain class. Recommendation and condition of class are different terms used by class societies for the same thing, that is, requirements to the effect that specific measures, repairs, requests for surveys etc. are to be carried out within a specified time limit in order to retain class. Each classed vessel is subject to a specified program of periodic surveys after delivery. These are based on a 5-year cycle and consist of annual surveys, an intermediate survey and a class renewal/special survey, held every 5 years. The scope of each specified survey increases with the age of the vessel. The class renewal surveys/special surveys include extensive in-water and, in most cases, out-of-water examinations to verify that the structure, main and essential auxiliary machinery, systems and equipment of the ship remain in a condition which satisfies the relevant rules. The examination of the hull is supplemented, when specified, by ultrasonic thickness measurements and the witnessing of tests as specified in the rules and as deemed necessary by the attending surveyor. The survey is intended to assess whether the structural integrity remains in conformance with the standards contained in the relevant rules and to identify areas that exhibit substantial corrosion, significant deformation, fractures, damages or other structural deterioration. Depending upon the age, size, type and condition of the vessel, the renewal/special survey may take several weeks to complete. The intermediate survey, held approximately halfway between special surveys, includes examinations and checks as specified in the rules to determine whether the ship remains in a general condition which satisfies the rule requirements. According to the type and age of the ship, dry docking may be required and the examinations of the hull may be supplemented by ultrasonic thickness measurements as specified in the rules and where deemed necessary by the attending surveyor. At the time of annual surveys, the ship is generally examined. The survey includes an external general inspection of the hull, equipment and machinery of the ship and some witnessing of tests, so far as is necessary and practical in order to determine whether the ship remains in a general condition which satisfies the rule requirements. Older ships of certain types may also be subject to a general examination of some specified internal areas of the hull. Depending upon the age, size, type and condition of the vessel, an annual survey may take from several hours to a few days to complete. Assignment, maintenance, suspension and withdrawal of class. Assignment of class. Class is assigned to a vessel upon the completion of satisfactory review of the design and surveys during construction undertaken in order to verify compliance with the rules of the Society. For existing vessels, specific procedures apply when they are being transferred from one class society to another or assigned the class at the first time. Class assignment may be given in the following cases: on completion of the new building, after satisfactory surveys have been performed, on completion of a satisfactory survey of an existing ship carried out in accordance with the agreement developed by the IACS member societies for ships transferring class between members, or, on completion of a satisfactory specific class survey of an existing ship not classed with an IACS society, or not classed at all. Maintenance of class. Classed ships are subject to a through-life survey regime if they are to be retained in class. These surveys include the class renewal, also called special survey, intermediate, annual, and bottom/docking surveys, either a survey in dry dock or an in-water survey of the hull, tail shaft survey, boiler survey, machinery surveys and surveys for the maintenance of additional class notations, where applicable. Such surveys are carried out at the intervals and under the conditions given below. The surveys are to be carried out in accordance with the relevant requirements in order to confirm that the condition of the hull, machinery, equipment and appliances comply with the applicable rules. It is the owner's duty to ensure that the ship's maintenance is kept at a satisfactory level in order to maintain the condition between surveys. The extent of any survey depends upon the condition of the ship and its equipment. In addition to the minimum required extent of surveys specified in the rules, should the surveyor have a doubt as to the maintenance or condition of the ship or its equipment, or be informed by the owner of any deficiency or damage which may affect class, further examination and testing may be conducted as considered necessary. Suspension of class. Where the conditions for the maintenance of class are not complied with, class may be suspended, withdrawn or revised to a different notation, as deemed appropriate by the Society when it becomes aware of the condition. The class may be discontinued either temporarily or permanently. In the former case it is referred to as suspension of class, in the latter case as withdrawal of class. Class may be suspended following a decision made by the Society when one or more of the following occurs: when a ship is not operated in compliance with the rule requirements, when a ship proceeds to sea with less freeboard than that assigned, when the owner fails to request a survey after having detected defects or damages affecting the class, when repairs, alterations or conversions affecting the class are carried out without requesting the attendance of a surveyor. In addition, class is automatically suspended when the class renewal/special survey has not been completed by its due date or within the time granted in special circumstances for the completion of the survey, unless the ship is under attendance by the Society's surveyor, with a view to completion prior to resuming trading, when the annual or intermediate surveys have not been completed by the end of the corresponding survey time windows. Suspension of class with respect to the above cases will remain in effect until such time as the due surveys and any other survey deemed appropriate by the Society have been completed. In addition to the circumstances for which automatic suspension may apply, the class of a ship will be subject to suspension procedures following a decision of the Society. When a recommendation/condition of class is not dealt with within the time limit specified, unless it is postponed before the due date by agreement with the Society, when one or more other surveys are not held by their due dates or the date stipulated by the Society, also taking into account any extensions granted, when, due to the nature of reported defects, the Society considers that a ship is not entitled to retain its class even on a temporary basis, pending necessary repairs or renewals, etc. In other circumstances where the owner fails to submit the ship to a survey in accordance with a special requirement. In all cases, suspension will remain in effect until such time as matters are rectified and the class is reinstated or class is withdrawn. Depending on the Society's procedures, the suspensions of class which are not automatic may take effect either when they are decided by the Society or from the date when the conditions for suspension occurred. However, once the conditions for class suspension/withdrawal are met and before any decision by the Society can be taken, either because the Society is not aware of the circumstances, surveys, dates, etc. are recorded but not systematically monitored, or because the decision is not yet taken, maintenance of class cannot generally be confirmed by the Society during this period. Withdrawal of class. The Society will withdraw the class of a ship when requested by the owner. The class has been suspended for more than 6 months. The ship is reported as a constructive total loss and the owner does not advise his intention to repair the ship for reinstatement of class. The ship is reported lost. The ship will not trade further as declared by its owner. Withdrawal of class takes effect from the date on which the circumstances causing such withdrawal occurred or when it is decided. Notification of suspension or withdrawal. When class is suspended or withdrawn, the Society will at the same time inform the owner, flag administration and underwriters, the latter at their request, publish the information on its website and convey the information to appropriate databases. Class Certificate. Issue of the Certificate of Classification. A certificate of classification, bearing the class notations assigned to the ship and an expiry date, is issued to all classed ships. This certificate may also be provided with annexes supplying information sufficient for the management of the certificate, for determining the class survey's date and for immediate assessment of possible irregularities, overdue recommendations, etc. An interim/provisional certificate of classification may serve as a certificate of classification in certain situations when deemed necessary by the Society. Validity of the certificate of classification. A certificate of classification, properly endorsed, is valid until the expiry date unless advised otherwise by the Society or provided there are no grounds for suspension or withdrawal of class. Endorsement of the certificate of classification. When annual and intermediate surveys are satisfactorily completed, the certificate of classification is endorsed for the periodical surveys. According to the practice of some societies, endorsed accordingly with the relevant entries in the appropriate annexes attached to the certificate concerning the outstanding recommendations/conditions of class, if any, and/or the surveys held. Where applicable, memoranda are also endorsed in the appropriate annex. The class rules, handout on CD. Classification notations. Classification notations are indicative of the specific rule requirements which have been met. Additional voluntary notations are offered by individual societies and may be selected by an owner wishing to demonstrate that the vessel conforms to a particular standard that may be in excess of that required for classification. Depending on the classification society, the classification notations are assigned to the ship according to ship type, service, navigation and/or other criteria which have been provided by the owner and/or builder when requesting classification. Classification notations assigned to a ship are indicated on the certificate of classification as well as in the register of ships published by the Society. These notations can be generalized by the following types which may be used in combination. Main class symbol, construction marks, service notations with additional service features, as applicable, navigation notations, geographic notations, additional class notations. Class symbol. The main class symbol indicates the compliance of the ship with specific rule requirements regarding its construction. Construction mark. The construction mark, when assigned, identifies the procedure under which the ship and its main equipment or arrangements have been surveyed for initial assignment of the class. Service notations. The service notations, when assigned, define the type and/or service of the ship which is being considered for its classification. A ship may be assigned several different service notations. In such case, the specific rule requirements applicable to each service notation will have been complied with. Navigation and operating area notations. Navigation notations. Some classification societies define limiting areas for navigation, for example coastal waters, unsheltered waters, and/or limiting environmental conditions for certain types of ships and marine structures. The assignment of restricted navigation notations may include the reduction of scantlings or specific arrangements. The assignment of a navigation notation by classification societies does not absolve the owner from compliance with any applicable international and/or national regulations established by the administrations for ships operating in national waters, or a specific area, or a navigation zone. Operating or service area notations. The operating area notation specifies the service area where the ship, for example dredgers, craned pontoons, port tugs, can operate as regards its assigned class. Additional class notations. Each of the classification societies has developed a series of notations that may be granted to a vessel to indicate that it is in compliance with some additional voluntary criteria that may be either specific to that vessel type or that are in excess of the standard classification requirements. Class characters and notations. No. Type notation description. 1.1. Characters of classification. This mark, when prefixed to characters of classification, would mean that the vessel has been built and the main and auxiliary machinery and essential systems have been installed under the special survey of the Society. 1.2. Asterisk. This mark, when inserted in the beginning of characters of classification, would mean that the vessel has been built under the special survey of a recognized classification society and have been accepted into society's class. 1.3. BA. This character will be assigned to all ships which have been accepted by the committee into the class of the society and signifies that the hull, equipment and machinery installations of the vessel meets the rules and regulations of the society or equivalent arrangements have been accepted by the society for the intended service of the vessel. 1.4. This character signifies that the vessel's anchoring and mooring equipment complies with the rules and regulations of the Society. 1.5. This character signifies that the anchoring and mooring equipment provided on board has been accepted by the committee as adequate for the intended operation of the vessel. 1.6. This character signifies that the committee has agreed that anchoring and mooring equipment need not be fitted for the intended operation of the vessel. 1.7. This character followed by a number signifies that the hull, equipment and machinery installation of the vessel has been accepted into the class of the Society for restricted operation within the specified distance from a port or safe refuge. Following examples illustrates. R0. Vessels class is valid only for services within inland waterways. R20. Vessels class is valid only for services within 20 nm from a port or safe refuge. R200. Vessels class is valid only for services within 200 nm from a port or safe refuge. 1.8. RC vessels class is valid only for services within 20 nm from the coast. 2.1. Class notations. Hull type. The type notation signifies that the vessel complies with the additional rules and regulations for the specific type of vessel. For example, general cargo, bulk carrier, oil tanker, chemical tanker, gas carrier, container vessel. 2.2. Descriptive notations as agreed by the committee to signify the special features or limitations of the vessel will be assigned at the request of the owners or as deemed necessary by the committee. For example, strengthened for heavy cargoes, alternate holds may be empty, for service within specified route or location, only for oils with F.P greater than 60 DEG.C etc. 2.3. ESB. This notation assigned to oil tankers, bulk carriers, combination carriers, chemical tankers and ore carriers, signifies that vessel is subject to an enhanced survey program as described in this part. 3.1. Class notations. Machinery. This distinguishing mark, when prefixed to class notations, machinery, signifies that the main and auxiliary machinery installed in the vessel are manufactured under special survey of the Society to the extent required by the rules. 3.2. This distinguishing mark, when prefixed to class notations, machinery, signifies that the main and auxiliary machinery installed in the vessel are manufactured under special survey of a recognized class society and have been accepted by the committee as complying with the Society's rules. 3.3. This notation will be assigned to all self-propelled ships and for Non-propelled ships having major machinery installations required for their primary operation, signified by the type notation, accepted into the Societies class. 3.4. Descriptive notations as agreed by the committee to signify the special features or limitations of the vessel will be assigned at the request of the owners or as deemed necessary by the committee, for example, computer-controlled machinery system, etc. 3.5. This notation signifies that the vessel complies with the rules and regulations for unmanned machinery spaces. 3.6. This notation assigned to oil tankers and chemical tankers signifies that the vessel is fitted with an approved system for producing inert gas. 3.7. This notation will be assigned to vessels fitted with dynamic positioning system approved by the committee. 3.8. This notation followed by letters within parenthesis describes the type of tail shaft fitted. OG, vessel fitted with approved oil gland. CL, vessel fitted with continuous shaft liner. ES, vessel fitted with exposed steel shaft. NC, vessel fitted with non-corrosive steel shaft. Centimeters, vessel fitted with approved oil gland and has extended tail shaft survey based on condition monitoring. 3.9. This notation will be assigned to vessels fitted with special propulsion systems. 4.1. Additional class notations. Descriptive notations as agreed by the committee to signify the special features or limitations of the vessel will be assigned at the request of the owners or as deemed necessary by the committee, for example, altered, 1999. Modified survey system, where the vessel has a modified survey system in view of the notation, SC, etc. 4.2. This notation signifies that the vessel has undergone a comprehensive assessment of safety utilizing reliability assessment procedures adopted by the Society such as Safety Case, FMEA, FSA, etc. 4.3. CG vessel is fitted with cargo gear approved by the committee. 4.4. RM vessel is fitted with cargo refrigeration machinery approved by the committee. Distinguishing marks or asterisk prefixed to this notation means that the refrigeration machinery has been manufactured and installed under the special survey of the Society or a recognized classification society respectively. 4.5. This notation followed by the digits 1, 2, 3, 4 signifies the strengthening the vessel has for navigation in icing conditions of various severities. Subchapter 2.2.2 Statutory Certification. Classed and non-classed items. Framework. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, is an umbrella convention concerned with many aspects of the sea and its uses, including the granting of registration of a ship by a state. Once a ship is registered, the flag state has certain duties laid out in UNCLOS. In particular, under Article 94, the flag state must effectively exercise its jurisdiction and control in administrative, technical and social matters over ships flying its flag, and take such measures for ships flying its flag as are necessary to ensure safety at sea. Under the auspices of the IMO, international conventions have been agreed which set out uniform requirements in order to facilitate the acceptance of a ship registered in one country in the waters and ports of another and in the general furtherance of safety at sea and the protection of the environment. These requirements are commonly referred to as statutory requirements. Broadly, they cover 4 distinct areas: aspects of the ship's design and its structural integrity, load line and stability in the intact and damaged condition, essential propulsion, steering equipment, etc. pollution control with regard to normal ship operation, accident prevention, including navigational aids and pollution and fire prevention, the situation after an accident, fire, flooding, including containment and escape. Some or all of these may also be covered in a particular class society's rules. SOLAS CH21, Reg 3-1 states that, in addition to the requirements of the other SOLAS regulations, ships shall be designed, constructed and maintained in compliance with the structural, mechanical and electrical requirements of a classification society which is recognized by the Flag Administration in accordance with the provisions of Regulation 11/1, or with applicable national standards of the administration which provide an equivalent level of safety. A number of the conventions require an initial survey before a vessel is put in service for the first time and receives its first certificate, and a certificate renewal survey at 1, 2 or 5-year intervals thereafter, depending on the certificate and type of ship. In addition, for those certificates valid for more than 1 year, surveys at annual intervals are required, one of which, at approximately halfway and termed intermediate, may be of greater extent than an ordinary, annual. The Harmonized System of Survey and Certification, Hssc, implemented by many administrations under IMO Resolution A.997/25, as amended, brings all SOLAS, except for passenger ships, MARPOL and load line convention surveys into a 5-year cycle. The scope of statutory survey can generally be harmonized with the extents of the classification surveys and, as far as possible, are held concurrently with them. Where the result of the classification survey is taken as evidence of compliance with the corresponding statutory requirement, for example load line or safety construction, hull, machinery, boilers, electrical equipment, etc., this survey is de facto given the status of a statutory survey on behalf of the Flag Administration, if the Society is acting as its recognized organization, RO, in this respect. The scope of each statutory survey or inspection is laid down by IMO resolutions and generally increases with age. It is to include sufficiently extensive examinations and checks to verify that the structure, machinery, systems and relevant equipment such as the life-saving, firefighting or pollution prevention equipment are in a satisfactory condition and in compliance with the applicable standards. Between surveys, the conventions require the Flag Administration to make it compulsory for the owner to maintain the ship in conformance with the regulations so that the ship will remain fit to proceed to sea without danger to the ship or persons on board or unreasonable threat of harm to the marine environment. When a ship is suspended or withdrawn from class, the class society concerned notifies the ship's Flag Administration and publishes the information on its website. As a consequence, the Flag Administration or generally invalidates the statutory certificates concerning construction and equipment. Issue, suspension and withdrawal of statutory certificates. Statutory certificates are issued by the RO in accordance with the terms of its recognition by the Flag Maritime Administration, MARAD. Variation of the delegation of statutory authority or certificates that can be issued by the RO exists between administrations. The administration should be contacted for specific details of the partial authorization. Statutory certificates are issued on behalf and under authority of the flag states. The flag state has to take responsibility for the certificates issued by RO. Therefore, any problems related to statutory certificates are usually dealt with severely by the flag state authorities. Sometimes punitive action is taken against the party who issued the certificates, such as imposing penalties/fines, suspension of concerned surveyors, or even withdrawing the recognition given to a particular organization. It is therefore to be understood that statutory certificates are to be issued only after the required surveys are carried out, the ship was found to be in a satisfactory condition during the surveys, and the ship complies with all applicable regulations. Statutory certificates are not to be issued when any of the above cannot be met. However, if on completion of the survey, it is found that there are few minor deficiencies which cannot be dealt with immediately, due to lack of facilities, spares, non-availability of replacement equipment, etc., a conditional certificate may be issued to allow the ship to reach the next suitable port where the necessary repairs/renewals and surveys can be completed. Maximum 2 months validity. However, in such cases the owner's/master's proposals to deal with the outstanding items should be ascertained and noted in the survey report. The outstanding items are to be entered on the back of the interim certificates issued, and a copy of any conditional certificate issued is to be faxed to Row Head Office at the earliest opportunity. It should be understood that this practice is not to be followed in cases where facilities are available for repair/renewal but the owners wants to postpone repairs/renewals to suit their own convenience. In such cases the owner should be advised that certificates will not be issued until the required repairs/renewal are carried out. If major deficiencies are identified during surveys, such as deficiencies relating to emergency equipment like generator/fire pump and lifeboats, etc., certificates are not to be issued and Row Head Office should be contacted. Certificate S may be suspended in such cases on discretion of Row. A certificate is issued or endorsed after the relevant surveys are passed. A certificate may be issued, valid for a short time period, listing corrective action to be rectified for minor deficiencies which do not prevent the issuance of a certificate to the ship. Under certain conditions, one row may conduct survey and issue or endorse certificates on behalf of another row, if dual-class agreement exists between these row. For most conventions, the administration empowers the row to withdraw or invalidate a certificate if the required corrective action is not taken. Short-term and full-term certificates. Short-term certificates, interim, conditional, provisional. Interim, with validity not exceeding 5 months, except for SMC, Hssc, and MLC, which may be valid for up to 6 months. Interim doc may be valid for up to 12 months. Interims are generally not extendable. Interim certificate is normally issued by the surveyor on site upon of a satisfactory completion of the statutory survey. The document is not to contain recommendations for corrections of deficiencies. It is not intended to be used as filler while awaiting compliance with the provision of the International Convention. The purpose of the interim certificate is to provide 5 months for the head office to review the document and its accompanying reports and issue the full-term certificate. The row may issue a provisional certificate with maximum validity of 5 months for the period as deemed necessary until full-term certificate is issued. Conditional certificate is to be issued in the case where a vessel has deficiencies, which must be corrected before an interim or full-term certificate can be issued. Conditional certificates are valid for a maximum non-extendable period of 60 days, and the administration must be informed about this occurrence. Some certificates, i.e., are issued for the lifespan of the item that is covered by a certificate. Most of full-term statutory safety certificates are issued for period of validity not exceeding 5 years. Passenger ship safety certificate is issued for 1 year only. Subchapter 2.2.3 Frequency of class and statutory surveys. Survey cycle. Plate 1-6, 1-7, 10-1. Definitions and procedures related to classification/statutory surveys. period of validity of a certificate. The period of the certification cycle starts either from the date of initial classification or from the credited date of the last class renewal/special survey, and expires at the due date assigned for the next class renewal/special survey. The due date is the end of the time window for the survey. Anniversary date. The anniversary date is the day and the month given in the certificate of class which corresponds to the expiry date of the certificate. For example, if the full-term safety construction certificate expires on 15 of January 2019, then 15 of January would be the anniversary date and due date for annual surveys. Survey time window. The survey time window is the fixed period during which the annual and intermediate surveys are to be carried out. Normally, survey time window opens 3 months before anniversary date and closes 3 months after. Overdue surveys. Each periodical survey is assigned a due date specified by the relevant rules by which it is to be completed. A survey becomes overdue when it has not been completed by its due date survey window. For example, with an anniversary date of the 15th of April, the annual survey can be validly carried out from the 16th of January to the 15th of July. If not completed by the 15th of July, the annual survey becomes overdue and class will be suspended automatically. Recommendations/conditions of class. Recommendation and condition of class are different terms used by class societies for the same thing, that is, requirements to the effect that specific measures, repairs, surveys etc. are to be carried out within a specific time limit or before certain event in order to retain class. Memoranda. Other information of assistance to the surveyor and owners may be recorded as memoranda or a similar term. They may, for example, include notes concerning materials and other constructional information. A memorandum may also define a condition which, though deviating from the technical standard, does not affect the class. For example, slight indents in the shell which do not have an effect upon the overall strength of the hull, or minor deficiencies which do not affect the operational safety of the machinery. In addition, memoranda could define recurring survey requirements, such as annual survey of specified spaces, or retrofit requirements, which have the de facto effect of conditions of class. Specific questions in relation to the meaning of memoranda/recommendations/conditions of class are to be addressed to the classification society concerned, though the owner of the ship. Class surveys periodicity and scope. Plate 9-3. Class renewal survey/special survey. Class renewal surveys/special surveys are carried out at 5-year intervals. Upon completion of the renewal survey, the new certificate shall be valid from the date of expiry of the existing certificate. However, consideration may be given by the Society, in exceptional circumstances, to granting an extension for a maximum period of 3 months after the due date. In such cases, the next period of class will start from the due date for the previous renewal survey before the extension was granted. Under special circumstances, the administration may grant new certificate to begin with the date of the completion of the renewal survey. The special survey may be commenced at the 4th annual survey and be progressed with a view to completion by the 5th anniversary date. The class renewal surveys/special surveys include extensive examinations to verify that the structure, main and essential auxiliary machinery, systems and equipment of the ship are in a condition which satisfies the relevant rules. The examinations of the hull are generally supplemented by thickness measurements and witnessing of tests as specified in the rules, and as deemed necessary by the attending surveyor, to assess that the structural condition remains effective and to help identify substantial corrosion, significant deformation, fractures, damages or other structural deterioration. Definitions and procedures related to statutory surveys and inspections. Initial survey is a complete inspection of the design and construction of the relevant structure, machinery and equipment of the ship and of all items relating to the particular certificate carried out before a ship is put into service to ensure that they are in a satisfactory condition, complies with the requirements of the applicable regulations and fit for the service for which the ship is intended. Plate 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. Referred to as the Periodical Survey. Plate 10-2, 10-3. Requirements of the regulations. Renewal survey is same as a periodical survey but also leads to the issue of a certificate after period of suspension or issue a new certificate for new 5-year cycle. Modifications to the ship having a bearing on the conformity of the vessel to the requirements are to be declared by the owner and inspected. It is also called special survey. Plate 9-1, 9-2. Intermediate survey is to be carried out within the window from 3 months before the 2nd to 3 months after the 3rd anniversary date. The intermediate survey includes examinations and checks on the structure as specified in the rules to verify that the vessel is in compliance with the applicable rule requirements and fit for the service for which the ship is intended. The rule criteria become more stringent with age. Depending on the certificate concerned and the age of the ship, the scope may range from that of an annual to the equivalent of a renewal survey. According to the type and age of the ship, the examinations of the hull may be supplemented by thickness measurements as specified in the rules and where deemed necessary by the attending surveyor. Annual surveys are to be carried out within a window from 3 months before to 3 months after each anniversary date. Annual survey, in principle, includes a general inspection of the relevant structure and equipment of the ship to confirm that it has been maintained in accordance with the regulations and is in satisfactory condition. At the time of annual surveys, the ship is generally examined. The survey includes an inspection of the hull, equipment and machinery of the ship and some witnessing of tests, so far as is necessary and practical in order to verify that, in the opinion of the attending surveyor, the ship is in a general condition which satisfies the rule requirements. Bottom/docking survey. A bottom/docking survey is the examination of the outside of the ship's hull and related items. This examination may be carried out with the ship either in dry dock, or on a slipway, or afloat. In the former case the survey will be referred to as dry docking survey, while in the latter case as in-water survey. The conditions for acceptance of an in-water survey in lieu of a dry docking survey will depend on the type and age of the ship and the previous history. The outside of the ship's hull and related items are to be examined on 2 occasions in the 5-year period of the certificate of class with a maximum of 36 months between surveys. One of the 2 bottom/docking surveys to be performed in the 5-year period is to be concurrent with the class renewal/special survey. For ships subject to the Enhanced Survey Program, ESP, see paragraph 2.2.4, and 15 years of age and above. The intermediate bottom/docking survey is to be carried out in a dry dock. Tail shaft survey. A tail shaft survey is the survey of screw shafts and tube shafts, hereafter referred to as tail shafts, and the stern bearing. The different types of surveys to which tail shafts may be subjected and the intervals are: complete survey, modified survey, partial survey. Tail shaft complete survey. Tail shafts are to be submitted to complete examination at a periodicity based on the type of shaft and its design. Complete means that the shaft is drawn up for examination or that other equivalent means of examination are provided. Tail shaft modified survey. A modified survey of the tail shaft is an examination which may be accepted at alternate 5-yearly surveys for tail shafts provided that the shaft arrangement is in accordance with specific requirements. Tail shaft partial survey. A partial survey allows a postponement of the complete survey, having a periodicity of 5 years, for 2.5 years. Boiler surveys. Boilers and thermal oil heaters are to be surveyed twice in every 5-year period. The periodicity of the boiler survey is normally 2.5 years. Steam boilers, superheaters and economizers are examined internally and externally. To this end, boilers are to be drained and suitably prepared for the examination of the water steam side and the fire side. When necessary, the external surfaces are to be made accessible for inspection by removal of insulation and lining. Non-periodical surveys. Occasional surveys are carried out at the time or after of the following events: updating of classification documents, for example change of the owner, name of the vessel, flag and port of registration; major accidents, pollution, damage or suspected damage; major repair work, alterations or conversion; postponement of surveys or outstanding recommendations/conditions of class; Hssc detentions; special circumstances. Whenever an accident occurs to a ship or a defect is discovered which affects the class of the ship, its safety or integrity or the efficiency or completeness of its equipment, the master or owner should make a report at the earliest opportunity to the administration, the nominated surveyor or O responsible for issuing the relevant certificate. The administration, the nominated surveyor or O responsible for issuing the relevant certificate should then initiate an investigation to determine whether a survey, as required by the regulations applicable to the particular certificate, is necessary. This additional survey, which may be general or partial according to the circumstances, should be such as to ascertain the extent of the damage and determine if it is such that the vessel no longer complies with the applicable rule requirements, to ensure that the repairs and any renewals have been effectively made, outstanding recommendations/conditions of class made by the surveyor have been dealt with satisfactorily, and that the ship and its equipment has been returned to a condition that is in compliance with the applicable rule requirements continue to be fit for the service for which the ship is intended. Any damage in association with wastage over the allowable limits, including buckling, grooving, detachment or fracture, or extensive areas of wastage over the allowable limits, which affects or, in the opinion of the surveyor, will affect the vessel's structural, watertight or weathertight integrity, is to be promptly and thoroughly repaired, thereby removing the need for the imposition of any associated outstanding recommendations/condition of class. Otherwise, damages and partial or temporary repairs considered acceptable by the surveyor for a limited period of time are covered by the issuance of an appropriate recommendation/condition of class. Plate 11-1, 11-2, 11-3. to the date when the survey is completed and the certificate is endorsed, day/month/year. Copy of the letter issued to the master/owner is to be forwarded to head office along with the survey reports. The survey requirements are to cover the survey, which were overdue, and additional items as considered by the surveyor, depending on the time gap from the last survey date. For cargo ship safety construction, load line and MARPOL Annex I, EOP, certificates with 5-year validity, annual surveys are due every year and the range date is anniversary date plus or minus 3 months. For SafeCon, an intermediate survey is due between the 2nd and 3rd anniversary dates, 2.5 years plus or minus 6 months. For EOP, an intermediate survey is due between the 2nd and 3rd anniversary dates, 2.5 years plus or minus 6 months. The intermediate survey for SafeCon and EOP may be done in lieu of the 2nd or 3rd annual survey if done within the overlapping period for both annual/intermediate surveys, that is 2nd anniversary date plus 3 months or 3rd anniversary date minus 3 months. For cargo ship safety equipment, the annual survey is due at the 1st anniversary date plus or minus 3 months. In the case of tankers over 10 years old, an intermediate survey is to be done in lieu of the annual survey, within same range dates. For all cases, the anniversary date is taken as the date of expiry of the relevant full-term certificate. Subchapter 2.2.4 Enhanced Survey Program. Harmonized Survey Program. Plate 1-8. 10-1. Varieties, 6 months prior to the survey. A new SOLAS Chapter 11 is added for special measures to enhance maritime safety under Resolution 744/18. According to these guidelines, it has 2 annexes. Annex A, Guidelines on Enhanced Survey Program of Inspection during Survey of Bulk Carrier. Annex B, Guidelines on Enhanced Survey Program of Inspection during Survey of Oil Tankers. Each Annex A and B has 9 chapters which are almost similar. The only dissimilarities being operational and constructional aspects of both type of vessels, that is oil tankers and bulk carriers. The chapters can be briefly described as: Chapter 1, General Application, Documentation on board to be completed prior to the inspection, which is to be served as basis for surveys. Chapter 2 describes how enhanced survey to be carried out during the periodical surveys, along with timings and conduct of enhanced surveys and requirements of dry docking. Chapter 3 describes enhanced inspection carried out during annual surveys, which includes cargo holds and tank pressure testing. Chapter 4 deals with intermediate surveys in addition to the annual survey requirements. Chapter 5 discuss the needed preparation for surveys, condition and equipment for surveys, access to the surveyed structure and conduct of survey at sea or at anchor. Chapter 6 immediate and thorough repairs to damages and wastages. Chapter 7 discuss the requirement of on-board documents supplied and maintained by owner that must be available to the surveyor, and requirements for survey report file, supporting documents, review of document by surveyor. Chapter 8 discuss the process of reporting and evaluation of survey, acceptability and continued structural integrity, a condition evaluation report of the survey and results to be issued to the owner. Chapter 9 reporting and evaluation of surveys, acceptable and continued structural integrity, a condition evaluation report of the survey and results to be issued to the owner. The Harmonization of Survey and Certification (Hssc) was adopted by the IMO on the 11th of November 1988 and entered into force on the 3rd of February 2000 with the purpose to standardize the period of validity and intervals between surveys and to alleviate the problems caused by survey dates and intervals between surveys which do not coincide, covering international shipping regulations including the following codes and conventions and all safety certificates prescribed by these codes and conventions: International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, 1974. The International Convention on Load Lines, LL, 1966. The International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, 1973, as modified by the Protocol of 1978 relating thereto, MARPOL 73/78. The International Code for the Construction and Equipment of Ships Carrying Dangerous Chemicals in Bulk, IBC Code. Code for the Construction and Equipment of Ships Carrying Dangerous Chemicals in Bulk, BCH Code. Code for the Construction and Equipment of Ships Carrying Liquefied Gases in Bulk, IGC Code. ISPS. Features: a standard interval of 1 year between harmonized surveys for ships which could be based on any of the followings. Every certificate will be subjected to an annual, intermediate and renewal survey. A time window of 6 months, from 3 months before to 3 months after the anniversary date of the certificate for annual, intermediate and periodical surveys. Initial survey: a complete inspection of all the items concerning the particular certificate before the ship is put into service to make sure they possess satisfactory conditions and are capable of carrying out the service for which the ship is intended. Periodical survey: an official examination of the items relating to the particular certificate to ensure that they are meeting the requirements and are fit for the intended services. Renewal survey: as similar as the periodical survey but consequently results in issuing a new certificate. A renewal survey can be carried out up to 3 months before expiry of existing certificates. The new certificates will still be dated from the expiry of previous one. Intermediate survey: inspection in depth of specified items. Intermediate survey is now required for all ships under Cargo Ship Safety Construction Certificate, to be done within 3 months of the 2nd or 3rd anniversary date. Annual survey: general reviewing of the items concerned to the particular certificate to ascertain the fact that they have been observed, maintained and remained fit for the service for which the ship is designated. Additional survey: general or partial inspection, according to the circumstances, made after an accident that may result in a damage or whenever there is a major repair or conversion made. A maximum period of validity of 1 year for all passenger ship certificates and 5 years for cargo ship certificates. Each full term of 5 years will follow directly from the previous one. With regard to LLC 1966 and MARPOL 73/78/88, the period of validity of the certificates are linked to the expiry date of the previous certificate and provision for extension of certificate for 3 months or 1 month as in the case of the SOLAS certificate. For MARPOL 73/78/88, the intermediate survey may be done within 3 months of the 2nd or 3rd anniversary date. 3 months extension for cargo ship certificates on the Harmonized survey system for ships and 1 month for short voyages. When the duration of a particular certificate is extended, the period of validity of new certificate begins from the expiry date of last certificate. Maximum 1 month extension may also be granted if ship is at port where adequate survey or repair facilities are not available. At least 2 inspections are required to be executed of the cargo ship's bottom in a 5-year period. Maximum interval between the inspections has also been set at not more than 36 months. A provision for our combined cargo ship safety certificate under SOLAS 74 as an alternative to separate cargo ship safety construction, cargo ship safety equipment and cargo ship safety radio certificates. No more unscheduled inspections for harmonized system of classification for ships, while annual surveys have been made mandatory. The harmonized survey requirements are as follows. Validity of certificates /year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, load line RRR, passenger ship safety RRRRR, cargo ship safety construction RR/II/RR, cargo ship safety equipment RR/PP/RR, cargo ship safety radio PPPPR, MARPOL 7378 RR/II/RR. Purpose of Hssc. Harmonization has the effect of reducing the costs incurred by the ship owner in preparing the surveys as well as the travelling and incidental expenses incurred by the surveyors. There is, however, no possibility at present of reducing the fees in consequence of the harmonization of surveys. The scope of potential harmonization is affected by many factors such as operating schedules, range of service, lay times and ship owners' attitude towards maintenance and surveys. Optimum harmonization is only possible if these factors are taken into account and is therefore largely an issue for the ship owners themselves. Harmonization will normally include only statutory surveys and certificate and will not be applicable to class certificates. However, if any owner wishes to harmonize the classification survey dates, then this can also be done at the same time. Subchapter 2.2.5 Exemption Certificates. Exemptions from certain elements of the international/national regulations are granted by the Flag State Maritime Administration upon request of the shipowner or O, where it is unreasonable to require full compliance with the international/national regulations or where transitional or temporary arrangements are provided. Regulated by MOSLS.14/Circ.115. Exemption certificate could be issued when the conditions under which an exemption, relaxation, etc., can be granted are of a general nature and open to interpretations. There are no clear alternative conditions under which an exemption, relaxation, etc., can be granted. The information concerning the exemption is not contained in other available documents such as special trade passenger ship certificates, stability information, document of authorization for the carriage of grain, etc. The information concerning an exemption is necessary for the application of the convention by the administration or the port state authorities when the ship is in service. Exemption certificates should indicate the conditions on which exemption is granted. When an exemption certificate is issued, port state authorities should interpret this as meaning that the ship complies with the provisions of the convention. SOLAS Chapter 1, Part A Regulation 4. Exemptions. A ship which is not normally engaged on international voyages but which, in exceptional circumstances, is required to undertake a single international voyage may be exempted by the administration from any of the requirements of the present regulations provided that it complies with safety requirements which are adequate in the opinion of the administration for the voyage which is to be undertaken by the ship. B. The administration may exempt any ship which embodies features of a novel kind from any of the provisions of Chapters 2.1, 2.2, 3 and IV of these regulations, the application of which might seriously impede research into the development of such features and their incorporation in ships engaged on international voyages. Any such ship shall, however, comply with safety requirements which, in the opinion of that administration, are adequate for the service for which it is intended and are such as to ensure the overall safety of the ship and which are acceptable to the governments of the states to be visited by the ship. The administration which allows any such exemption shall communicate to the organization particulars of same and the reasons therefore which the organization shall circulate to the contracting governments for their information. Chapter 1, Part B, Regulation 12. Issue or endorsement of certificates. 7. When an exemption is granted to a ship under and in accordance with the provisions of the present regulations, a certificate called an exemption certificate shall be issued in addition to the certificates prescribed in this paragraph. An exemption certificate shall not be valid for longer than the period of the certificate to which it refers. Reg.14. Chapter 3, Part A, Regulation 2. Exemptions. 1. The administration may, if it considers that the sheltered nature and conditions of the voyage are such as to render the application of any specific requirements of this chapter unreasonable or unnecessary, exempt from those requirements individual ships or classes of ships which, in the course of their voyage, do not proceed more than 20 miles from the nearest land. End of Lecture 2.